So our question today is, why do strong and independent women often stay single? And this is important because recently a young lady asked me the question that in spite of what people claim that, men prefer a woman who invests in herself and cultivates herself and is able to take care of herself, or they are interested in what a woman can bring to the table based on her experience and the personal experiences of many of the ladies or friends around her. Men tend to overlook, the independent, working, career, educated woman, what they may call a strong and independent woman, and go for a lady several stations below that lady, perhaps with lesser education or lesser income or no income at all, to settle with them for marriage. So our question is, are men just intimidated by the success and the independence and the capabilities of these other women like herself? Or is it really just a question of personal preference? So speaking to many people, I realize that most ladies tend to think it's a question of insecurity, like men are unable to handle a strong, independent, working woman who can think for herself and take care of her own needs, while men tend to think it's just a matter of preference, deeply rooted in stereotypes of the idea that women in such a station are less likely to be submissive or respectful. But the objective of this video is not just to say, hey, this is the problem, and then you go around hitting your chest as a lady saying, I'm still single because men cannot handle a strong and independent woman. Well, good for you, but you're still going to remain single. The objective of this video is that you can understand the root of the problem, the inner workings and thinking and preferences of men, because many women tend to think they know what men want. Because if men indeed care about what a woman brings to the table, they are not going to overlook, a PhD holding woman with 7 figures or 6-figure income and prefer to rather go for the timid, shy, several stations below young lady. The problem lies here. There has been a rapid increase in trainings and developments and movements for the empowerment of women, but at the same time, there has been almost nothing being done for men. So think about it. It's like you go and take a woman from this archaic ancient jungle that never believed that she even deserves to get an education, or they were ready to marry her at 12, 14, 15 years of age, and you empower her. She can get an education now, she can be a CEO, president, and at the same time, you did nothing for the man from whom you took her from to change his mindset, and even worst of all, to affect the mindset of his sons and the sons of friends like him. And you forget that these young ladies you're empowering are going to be living in the same world like the sons of this man and the sons of his friends. And what do those sons have as perception or experience is that a woman cannot do any more than just serve and submit to her husband. And you expect them to suddenly open their mind to this entire concept where they have to kind of share responsibilities or reasoning with a woman. So we've come very far. Not so long ago, women were not even allowed to get an education, but here we are, and it seems women tend to take it for granted, and you cannot expect so much change so fast, because men have actually made progress in the fact that they have opened their minds to a much more modernized way of viewing the world, that they can actually interact with women at the same level. But to suddenly expect deep-rooted stereotypes to disappear overnight is to be delusional at best. So the smart and intelligent woman, and many of them are getting married and wedded every weekend, is the one that can put in the extra effort to actually distance herself from the wrong and negative perception and stereotype of people like her. Now, this is not just, make-believe or superficial. We're first of all talking working on your character to be submissive, because one thing we do forget is that there are many uneducated, broke women who are very disrespectful, unsubmissive, submissive. There are very educated, strong, independent women who are very submissive and very respectful. And there is a whole lot in between. So you can't just go with a one size fits all. But the problem we're dealing with here is a stereotype, which is understandable. And just like all stereotypes, I mean, there are many African countries, and many of my viewers are from some of them that already have a negative perception on the international stage. So when you introduce yourself that you're from that country, perhaps everyone just holds their wallet a little tightly, or they just look at you and think you're a scammer or a thief or something like that. Is that fair to the person? Of course not. But the reality is that is the stereotype. And for good reason, it is found that humans are designed to work based on assumptions from previous experiences. So the smart person from such a country will have to put in the extra effort to distance themselves from that stereotype by actually showing that they are different. And mind you, not just showing, first of all, being different, that is working on your character, and then actively portraying the true and new character that you have. Because the honest fact is, people have not been taught how to marriage, if you understand what I mean, how marriage works. Because sadly, in the past, with the way things were unequal or unbalanced, by default, a man could make a very good leader simply by the number of disadvantages that were stacked against the woman. First, she was not allowed to get an education. She was not allowed to work. So the average man at 18 who has gone out to hunt with the crew or has gone to the farm with his elders and fathers already has more experience than her, more information than her. So by default, he's already a marvel. He can wow her, he can impress her, he can lead her. But now all those disadvantages and handicaps that were on the woman have been lifted, and now she can compete to an extent, we can say, at the same level like men. So just being the factory default man is no longer enough. What are you going to tell her that she doesn't already know? But back then, just one little story you heard on the farm with other men can be life transforming for her. But that just doesn't cut it anymore today. And the same goes for women, because most women back then, it was automatic. You were obedient and submissive, not necessarily because you wanted to, but because you had no choice. You had no means to rebel or oppose the status quo. But real submission, real obedience, or real respect only really gets tested when you can afford to disrespect the person. That's when you can say you're respectful. So your opinion and your good feedback only matters to me as much as you can also give me negative feedback. Because if you're surrounded by yes men, then you automatically know you can never trust the good feedback they give you. But if you're surrounded by people who can give you a negative feedback, then the positive feedback actually holds more value. And that's the same thing. So if women had no choice but to submit out of condition, you couldn't really say the average woman was taught effectively how to respect a man, how to be allow herself to be loved or to be led or to be taken care of by a man. So we have all these contexts and societal norms getting destroyed overnight, and you have so many people getting tossed into the ring with no clue as to how to navigate this whole entire chaos. But remember, if you focus on principles, things become very, very simple. The principle for men is respect. The principle for women is to be loved and taken care of, security. Because when you think of submission, it's almost like surrender. You don't surrender unless there is security. And you don't want to love unless you have the assurance of surrender. It's like you don't want to invest in something which you never know, you could wake up tomorrow and it is fights on papers and taking half of all your stuff. But at the end of the day, what is the way forward? Many of the ladies said it's up to the men, to develop and change their backward mindset, to be less insecure by strong women. Just statements like that already proves to me that you're very arrogant and you're going to have problems with submission anyways. You see, the point here is not really just to seek to be understood, is seek to understand. That's how you make progress. You want to understand how men think and adjust and adapt yourself if you care about marriage. I said that at the beginning. If you don't care, you really have no business being here. So you can go and be the boss lady you want to be all you want. Of course, nothing wrong with being a boss lady. That's the best word I could come up with. But if you do care, then you probably have to make some compromises. And the same thing goes for the men. You just can't say you're always going to want to go for the woman whom you feel secure with, because with the availability of information, the ignorant woman today, with exposure to the internet and exposure to people around you, in a couple of years will be super informed, super intelligent, working, and also be another good, strong, and independent woman. So there is that balance where both parties kind of have to play a role. But this is the thing, you can't control the other person. You can control yourself. You can control, as a lady, your ability to not portray the wrong stereotype, the ability to work on your character, your ability to find the kind of person who is interested in growth and will also invest in themselves and invest in you and be comfortable with growth, compared to someone who is satisfied with their level and wouldn't want you to go past them, because the more you go, the more you intimidate them, or the more you make them look bad. And ultimately, I'd just like to conclude with this misconception of even the word independent woman, because there is no such thing as an independent man, because men are in fact very dependent on their mothers from the stage as babies, very dependent on their fiancés or their wives to be able to achieve the great things that men have achieved in society. But I don't know who told this big lie to women that to be successful, to be strong and secure in yourself, you have to be independent of men. And so you have women who are overburdened, joyless, stressed, tired, and overwhelmed by this mirage they are trying to keep by actually running the race of life just by themselves, because they want to prove that they can be without the man. Well, sadly for you, men are busy excelling with all the support they can get, and here you are running in the desert all alone, killing yourself for no good reason. So remember that an independent woman is not a one that is independent of men, but is one that is secure in themselves to take care of themselves and also to allow themselves to be taken care of. So as a lady, if you feel that men are insecure around you, or they are intimidated by your level of success or progress in life, you can carry that as a badge of honor if you want to stay single forever. But if you value marriage, kids, a happy and stable home, then you have to actively put in the effort to change the perception of what people may have around you. That may mean going the extra mile to actually convince people that you can be respectful, you can be submissive. And that is something pretty much everyone does when you're in a situation of being an underdog and people don't believe in them because of a stereotype. They have to put in that extra effort. And that's just a simple and simplistic fact about it. Well, I hope this maybe inspired you, or you learned something from it, or it simply just annoyed you. I'm sorry about that. But you let me know what you think about this in the comments below. And if you have, a lady you're thinking about watching this, or a friend, why not share this with them so that you can understand what we're talking about here. So I'm Bodas Djoumessi from Wisdom for Dominion. Thank you so much for watching. Please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell if you're new to the channel, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.